So how did a school bus driver making $400 a week go to a business owner making almost 6 figures a year in just 5 years? Well, in this video, I'm going to break down how it all happened. And yes, I'm talking about myself. Hi, my name is Jessie Whittington, and I own Country Lather Soap Works on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I'm a Mississippi girl, born and raised. I've lived down here my entire life. So this story starts, well, way back when I was a kid. I always itched when I got out of the shower. And I grew up, I'm that kind of in-between generation. I'm not quite Generation X, and I'm not quite a millennial, so I'm a zennial. I'm a 1984 baby. I grew up using Irish Spring, Dial, Dove, Lever 2000, Bath and Body Works, you name it, I've used it just like y'all did. But one thing that I didn't know that was not normal is I would always itch when I got out of the shower. Every time I would always itch. Now I wouldn't get a rash or anything like that, but I would scratch myself so raw that it would leave a sore. So go back 10 years ago, my mom, who we affectionately call Mama Lather on the TikTok channel, she was the retail sales supervisor at the Imperial Casino, Resort, and Spa down in Biloxi, Mississippi. My mama has always worked retail. She has sold cars, she sold aftermarket parts for cars, she sold boats, she sold furniture, she sold insurance, you name it, that lady has sold it. But one day, 10 plus years ago, not quite 11, but a little over 10 years ago, she came to visit me one day on her day off, and she brought me a bar of luxury goat milk soap. And this was a pretty decent sized bar of soap. It was probably 6 or 7 ounces. It was pretty good size. So I cut that booger in half, and I put one part of it in my shower. I put the other part of it in the bathroom drawer to save for later. So as I'm using this soap, I'm realizing I don't itch when I get out of the shower. I don't have near the skin issues. And something I didn't mention earlier is that in the wintertime, my fingers and my knuckles would bust open and they would bleed, and it would be horribly painful during the wintertime. Dry skin much? So, after I realized that bar of soap was a little bit different than what I was used to using, I didn't realize this was in the way. Squirrel. So I used that bar of soap and it gave me 0 issues. I didn't itch when I got out of the shower. My knuckles and my fingers weren't bursting open due to cold weather and dry skin. I got to thinking about it, and the only thing was different was that goat milk soap. So I called her up once I was getting kind of low on my soap. I said, "Hey, Mama, I need another bar of that soap." And she told me, she said, "Baby girl," said, "that bar of soap cost me," talking about her, at her employee discount, $15. Now that is insane, even at today's prices. I'm sorry, but that is just insane. But it's at a casino. It's at a resort type place. Stuff's gonna be expensive. I need to get me some of them accounts like that. So my son just come in from school. He's ready to go to work. I love sour candy. So there's just some ASMR, some asthma.
Help, I'm having an asthma attack.
You're having an asthma attack?
I'm having an asthma attack.
It's fun working with your kids. Package up Marksman. So one thing about me that y'all may not know is I am a huge cheapskate. I don't like spending money, especially on myself. I will totally spend money on my husband and on my family, but I don't like spending money on me. So I totally was not going to spend $15 on a bar of soap, okay? And for real, this was, 10 plus years ago. Prices weren't as high as they are now. I don't have soap listed for $10 a bar of soap now. So I thought to myself, I said, somebody made that bar of soap. And I've always been crafty. No, I've not been crafty. I mean, I don't consider myself to be creative or a decorator type, so I'm definitely not crafty, but I am a DIYer. I love to work with my hands. I can finish sheetrock, I can lay tile, I can do simple carpentry, I've done plumbing, I've dabbled in a little bit of everything. So I said, somebody made that bar soap. Why can't I make my own soap? So I got on the internet and I got on YouTube, and I got to watching soap making videos on YouTube. Now primarily I watched Soaping 101, I watched Uncle John's Soap, I watched a little bit of Ariane Arsenal and Ellen Ruth Soap. So I watched them and I learned the whole process, and I learned about, using soapcalc.net. and that was fun. Not really. But after some time, I learned how to make goat milk soap. The whole method where you freeze your goat milk in an ice tray and you mix it with your lye, that whole process. I watched enough videos, I did enough research to where I felt I was comfortable that I could do it, okay? So I got on Amazon and I ordered my supplies. I ordered coconut oil, I ordered some sweet almond oil. I went to my local hardware store and I got a 1 pound bottle of sodium hydroxide beads. And I went to, at the time I had a local goat milk farm. I went and I bought some goat milk from him. It was pasteurized, but it worked fine. And I went to the Piggly Wiggly and I bought a tub of lard because I knew I wanted to make soap with lard from the very beginning. And they also had a stick blender, a cheap off-brand stick blender on sale for like $10 there, so I grabbed one of those. I got everything except the soap mold because at this point I wasn't sure that this was going to be a thing that I was going to do on a semi-regular basis, so I surely wasn't going to order a soap mold when I could make something work, right? Got all my supplies in, and I take a 9x13 Pyrex cake dish. You know, the type of dish that you're gonna make casseroles in, you're gonna make baked cakes in, brownies. My personal favorite thing to do is to make bread pudding. I love bread pudding. I took that 9x13 cake dish and I lined it with a Walmart grocery bag. That is a key point. Hang on to that for just a minute, okay? So I done went on soapcalc.net. I got my recipe. So I go to making my soap. I take my frozen goat milk. I mix it with my sodium hydroxide lye. I already had a weighted a scale, a digital scale, so that wasn't something I needed to buy. I got everything mixed up and I got my soap poured in my mold. And it was a tough 24 hours, but I waited 24 hours. The next day, I unmolded that batch of soap. As you can tell, my soap has a gigantic Walmart logo across the bottom. Is it foreshadowing? Who knows? Walmart holler at me. But nonetheless, even though it's got Walmart across the bottom of that batch of soap, I cut it up into chunks with a butcher knife and I set it in my laundry room to let it dry for 4 weeks. And y'all, that was a tough 4 weeks, knowing that I had something in there that I had made that I could potentially wash with that would potentially help my skin. That was a hard 4 weeks. But 4 weeks comes and 4 weeks goes. And I'm finally able to try out my soap. And it works great. It doesn't hurt my skin. I don't have any issues. So I am on to something. I have successfully made my very first batch of soap. And I've officially been bitten by the soap making bug. Y'all know what I'm talking about if you make soap. So anyhow, things rock on. I get some, cheap fragrance oils off of Amazon. I experiment with some different colors. I rock on. I continue to make soap. And like I said, I'm a school bus driver. So I'm making so much soap because this is my fun new obsession/hobby that I've amassed quite a bit of soap. And so what do you do when you've got a new hobby and you want the hobby to pay for itself? You sell soap. To start with, I'm just giving it away just so I don't have a hoard of soap at my house. Because, let's be honest. You can only use so much soap, right? But the time comes where there's a community rummage sale. And I set up a little table at this community rummage sale, and I've got like 30 bars of soap, just nothing. I've got 30 bars of soap there, and I sell most of my soap, and I think I make like $80, and that's enough to pay for my next batch of materials to fuel my new hobby. So I keep doing this. This is a thing, and you all can relate if you make soap. You make soap because it's fun, because you want to try out this fragrance, and you want to try out this fragrance, and next, and you want to try out different colors and different techniques and such as that. So I continue to make soap. And through the course of all this, I stumble upon hot process soap, which I love to make. By far, my favorite type of soap to make is hot process. But we keep rocking on, and I keep watching YouTube and learning different techniques and such as that. And I'm making hot process soap. I'm making cold process soap. I go to my first, I think it was my first. Yeah, I go to my first actual craft event. It's a little place here in Lucedale, Mississippi called the Gingham Tree. They have it every year. If you don't make it, you can't bring it and sell it there. So I do pretty well there. I mean, I think I make like $200-300, and that's better than I did at the rummage sale. I keep making soap, and at the time I was just kind of calling myself Jessie Suds. It was just really corny, and it was just something to be able to put on a label to gift to my kids' teachers and friends and such as that. But I'm in my kitchen one day, and I'm just kind of spitballing. Like, Jessie Suds is just really corny, and I don't really want to roll with that. I want to do something different, and I'm just spitballing just different names. And I knew I wanted lather to be in my name, and I experiment around with Southern lather, but y'all. And I'm not embarrassed about where I'm from or anything like that, but typically anytime you've got Southern in a name back then, there's a certain stigma behind it. So I knew I didn't want to roll with that, and I kind of stuck with Country Lather. It had a good roll, it had a good feel to it, so that's what I went with, was just Country Lather. And then the pandemic hit. Worldwide, this virus is everywhere, and it's going to kill us all. We're all sanitizing our groceries as they come in the house, and it's just insanity, and it's everywhere. And we don't know what to do with it. Magically, a hand just appeared off frame. And like I said earlier, I'm a school bus driver, and all the schools are not in session because all the kids are at home, virtual learning, so I'm a non-essential worker. Now, my husband is an essential worker. He works. He never misses a day because he logs for a living, and we got to have toilet paper to wipe our butts with. So he and I are sitting on the front porch of our house one day. We're drinking coffee. And school bus is still in my yard. It never, when they shut it down, when they shut school down, they did it that quick. They didn't want us bringing our buses back or anything like that. So the bus, I would crank it and run it just kind of around down the road, once or twice a week just to keep it in good running shape. But it was still there. So we were sitting there, school bus was right there, and he told me, he said, baby, he says, I want you to do what you want to do. He said, if you want to drive that school bus for the rest of your life, he said, I will bury you in that school bus if that's what you want. But he looked at me dead in my eyes, and he said, but you are losing money driving that school bus. And y'all, he was right. So I thought about it for a few days, and I called my boss, and first time I have ever quit a job over the phone. But it's not like they would have let me in the building anyhow, so what choice did I have? But he was super supportive. He knew that this was kind of my new thing. That was it. I started making videos on TikTok right after that, because TikTok was the new thing. Everybody had TikTok, and everybody was shared TikTok videos to one another. And so after just really being poor-mouthed by a friend of mine, I started making videos on TikTok. Now, before this, I was not a social media person at all. I would post pictures of my kids on Facebook, and that was about it. The content creator thing was never anything I'd really ever considered. But it's just funny how the good Lord points you in life, So in mid to late August of 2020, I start making TikTok videos of me making soap. I was making bath bombs, cutting soap, you name it. I started having a camera pointed on me every time I was doing anything business related. And at this time, I did have a business license, but I was just doing wholesale. So, I didn't really need I don't know what y'all call it in your states, but in Mississippi, we have to have a TAP account to submit sales tax through the state of Mississippi. So I was just doing wholesale. That's all I was doing. But I posted a video the day before Hurricane Zeta come through. And Hurricane Zeta hit, I think it was October 27th of 2020. Very late in the year for a hurricane to hit. But one thing about an October hurricane is, if you have an October hurricane, it's a doozy. And I posted the video, I think the day before Hurricane Zeta hit. I posted it, and it got traction, and it started running. And it was just a simple video. I'll put it right here on screen somewhere. But it was just, there wasn't much of nothing to it. I was aggravated because I wanted to get 1,000 followers so I could go live and make soap live on TikTok. But I was stuck at like 300 or 400 followers. And it was just a simple video. I turned the camera on. I was getting ready to make soap. I picked up a half-used box of lard. I throwed it on the countertop. And I just started talking to the camera like I am to y'all right now. Saying, you know, I would love to go live and show y'all the soap making process live here on TikTok, but I don't have the followers. So if we could hit 1,000 followers, we'll do a soap giveaway. And that was about the gist of the video. And it got traction. And it went, I wouldn't say viral, but it went semi-viral. I think it had like, I don't know, 80,000 views within just a couple of days, something like that. I'm not 100% on that, but it caught traction. I went from like 300 to 400 followers to like 3,500 followers in just a matter of like 3 or 4 days. Now, bear in mind, this whole time, Hurricane Zeta's come through and it's knocked our power out, so we don't have power for like 3 days. And, you know, my videos really got traction, and I could tell that it got traction before the power went out, so I can't really tell anything until the power comes back on and we have internet again. So when we have internet again, you know, then I realize I've got people messaging me, I've got people commenting that they want to buy my products and such as that, so I realize I've got to get a website. And I do research for a couple of weeks trying to figure out what hosting service I want to use, and I ultimately landed on Shopify. I love Shopify's websites. They're super user-friendly. You know, you can add apps on it for different things, and it's just, Shopify fits the bill, and they have got it going on. But anyhow, a friend comes over and she helps me get this Shopify website up and running, get all my products listed on it, and we launch it by Thanksgiving. I think the Monday before Thanksgiving of 2020, I have my website live on Shopify. And y'all, within the first day, 24 hours of my website being live, I had like 12 orders, and that was huge for me. I was so tickled to death, I didn't know what to do. And so I keep posting videos on TikTok and keep doing my thing. Keep pushing the link that's in my bio, because TikTok Shop is not a thing yet. I eventually build a YouTube, and it takes a little time to build that, and you know, I just keep plugging along. One thing about being a small business owner is you got to be contrary, you got to be hard-headed, and you can't quit. You have to have a no-quit attitude. I tell my husband all the time that I ain't got no quit in me. You got to have that to be a small business owner, or you will never make it. Around about 2023, I'm contacted by a company that wants to film a mini documentary. And so that's cool. And I tell them absolutely, you know, I can't get into a whole lot of specifics on that because of some paperwork that I've signed, but just, it really doesn't matter anyhow. They come to the house, they follow me around for 2 days with cameras and equipment, and there's some little lady that's following me all over the place asking me if I want water or drinks, and it's just weird. It's just so odd to me. It was really odd having like 20 people in my 21 square foot house.
Yeah.
2,100 square foot house.
Because when I came home, all I saw was just cars up and down the driveway. I'm like, what is happening?
But yeah, that was really weird. That's my son you're hearing off camera. He was y'all, I had people texting me and calling me because they thought that maybe something happened to my mother-in-law because she's elderly. And I couldn't tell them what was going on, but I said, no, she's fine. We've just got an event going on. That's all I can say at this point in time. That happens. And then I end up in Washington, D.C., because that's when the first ban, no, Trump did the first ban, and the first ban that Biden wanted to put through come to fruition. And I'm in D.C., and all of a sudden, while I'm in D.C., my phone starts going cha-ching, 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 like once every 5 minutes, it's going cha-ching, okay? Bear in mind, I work by myself. I'm up in D.C., and orders are coming in, and I can't do a thing about it. I have to wait till I get home. And I mean, at the time, my kids, they can process soap and such as that, but they're not. At the time, I don't have them really trained to fill orders. That trip to DC was something else, because I was there talking with senators and congressmen and aides and all kinds of different people, and that was just. I was there as the face of small business for TikTok, and y'all, that was a heavy load. I'm not gonna lie, that was a really heavy load on my shoulders. And if it wasn't for my husband being there keeping me encouraged, I probably would have just crawled up in a hole somewhere and just stayed there, because it was a lot. We come home, and I've got 100+ orders in my queue, and my website is empty. The whole reason for all that is because the mini documentary turned out to be an advertisement for TikTok. And yeah, I didn't know about that. I was told it was going to be a mini documentary, which it was, but TikTok decided it would make a great advertisement. Squirrel. So at the time, TikTok Shop is not a thing, and these orders are just coming to my website, and thank God, I have somewhat of a lead time. So we get all these orders packaged up, we get them sent out, and I've still got people that are requesting soap, wanting my website to be back stocked up, so I have to list pre-orders, and people are fine with ordering pre-orders, and I make it very clear that this soap will not ship until this date and such as that, and we rock along with that for a little while until we get stocked back up. And y'all, at the time I was making like 100 to 150 pounds of soap a week, and that was a lot at the time because I was still working out of my house. And it was a struggle. It was a real struggle, but we made it. And good Lord has blessed, and we actually had plans. We were in the process of getting a loan to build this soap shop. We got it built, and we moved in it. We moved into the shop the end of January of 2024. Before that, I worked 100% out of my house. I made soap in my laundry room. And I packaged soap and packaged orders in what is now his studio, but that is a spare bedroom that used to be my packaging room. Right. And I cut soap in my dining room, and I stored materials and packaging and such as that in my living room. Y'all, we lived in a glorified warehouse for 2 years while we're trying to get to where we could build this building. And then we finally get in the building. So we're moving in here. And y'all, it takes almost 3 loads with a 12-foot utility trailer to get everything out of the house and in this building. And everything's just unloaded in the middle of this building. And it was at that time that I realized I did not build my shop big enough. Now, we're out of the house, and my house is a home again instead of a business. So that's the silver lining we're clinging to right now, is that, I'm not working from home anymore. My home is a home, and it's not a place of business anymore. But we're busting at the seams a little bit in this shop, but that's okay. Everything comes in due time. Slow growth is the way to go, in my opinion. I'm rocking on along. I'm making product. I've got room to breathe a little bit, and I get to where I'm producing more and more soap. And in May of 2023, something I didn't mention earlier, I'll just kind of condense it now. I get on an airplane and I go up to Connecticut for the Handcrafted Soap Makers and Cosmetics Guild Conference. And what's so special about this trip is I've made some lifelong friends, Margaret from Warm and Fuzzy Soapery and Shauna with Moana Bath and Body. And special mention to July with Winston and Walter.ca, who makes the best soap molds ever. It's the only soap molds I use currently. They are just a beast of a soap mold. If you're looking to update or to scale up your business, I highly recommend molds from Winston and Walter.ca. They are not sponsored. No money changes hands. I just believe in her molds that much. So anyhow, I go up to this conference, and it's right at Margaret's birthday, and she has no clue I'm coming. I told her I couldn't come, so yeah, I kind of lied to her. But so it's a big surprise. Shauna knows I'm coming. July knows I'm coming. They picked me up at the airport. First time to fly by myself, and I made it fine, y'all. I'm just gonna put the video right here and let it speak for itself. It was really cool. Anyhow, I vlogged the whole way, so you can watch the vlog now. Alright, this is the day before the trip. I took a break from packing. I came to the shop because I had to pick up a couple things that I've got to pack. Plus, I'm trying to get some orders out before I'm gone for dang near a week. So, anyhow, so T-minus 1 day. Alright, it's the day of Margaret. I'm sitting on the porch just kind of hanging out, waiting on my ride. And gonna get on an airplane here in a little while and head your way. Alright, just landed in Charlotte a little while ago, and gotta walk all the way to the other side of the airport to catch my flight to Hartford. So, catch y'all in a minute. Alright, Margaret landed in Hartford, Connecticut. So, let's see if I can find my way out of this airport. See you tomorrow.
We're going to pick up Miss Jessie. It's a lot of, she's at one of these terminals.
She said she was towards the beginning, so.
That's what she says. We'll see.
I think that's her right there.
Where?
Right
She's,
there.
Is that her?
Sitting there, standing there waiting.
Standing there? Yeah, that's her.
Hi! Oh my god, I have a flight.
Well, hi.
Woohoo!
Here you go. Here, we're gonna hop again.
First meetings at the conference. Woohoo!
Miss Jessie.
Don't cry, July.
No, I'm not crying.
General report.
Did you wash it? Shut up!
No way!
So we have a great time at the conference. Man, do we have a time at the conference. It's fun. You always kind of worry, we texted off and on for 2 to 3 years before we actually got to meet one another. So you always had that little green man in the back of your head, like, are they really going to be what you think they are? And which I knew they would be, but y'all, we're hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles apart, but we text and talk every day. We've now got a podcast called the Dirty Heifer Podcast. If you would like to go give us a follow there, we would really appreciate that. We just talk about all things small business, soap making, and just whatever floats our boats, really what we talk about. It just really solidified our friendship that much more. And after that, I come home and we start the podcast. I get things rolling with the TikTok shop, and that's where we are. That's where we are currently. So that's really all I got to say about that. Best way to support this channel is, if you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and make sure to hit that bell and turn your notifications on, because I try to post shorts every day, and I'm going to try to post long form content 2 times a month currently. And if you'd really like to support the business, I highly recommend going to countrylathersw.com. Y'all, we have got all kinds of soaps. We have got goat milk soap bars. We have got solid dish soaps. We've got hand soaps. I'm working on a few other products right now currently, so just wait to see if that actually pans out, or if maybe I get mad at it and throw it out that door right yonder, which is entirely possible. So thank y'all for hanging out with me, and y'all make sure to wash the stink off every day. And God bless y'all.